Where do we go from here? Restoring Prama in AMPS step by step. Points of importance. By restoring Prama in our Ananda Marga society, we are getting the much necessary training to help the greater human society to establish Prama in this world. If we cannot restore Prama in AM, then we are pretty much useless. There is little benefit to continue working in the psychic and spiritual spheres when the lack of Prama in the physical sphere will spoil all our hard work. We will have no moral right, no moral standing to help the greater society at large to restore its Prama, when we can't even do it within our own small house. The restoration of Prama in AM must be the greatest priority of all devotees. It cannot wait for future generations, as our current world is on fire. Baba made it clear that when a social political body loses its Prama, restoring Prama in the physical sphere is the priority. Without restoring Prama in the physical sphere, it becomes impossible to restore Prama in the psychic and spiritual spheres. Baba says, once the society reaches a state of degeneration, the balance in the Lokatrikona cannot be immediately restored. Rather, society will have to be lifted up step by step from the stage of degeneration to the stage of disruption, and then from the stage of disruption to the stage of derangement. And in the final stage, balance in Pramatrikona or Lokatrikona will have to be established. Although all three aspects of life, physical, psychic, and spiritual, carry equal significance, the physical stage should be given greater importance in the initial stage. If Prama is lost in the physical sphere, the antisocial elements will have the upper hand in society. They will pollute the entire social environment. Consequently, Prama in the mental and spiritual spheres will be lost, and the mental condition will further degenerate. So, the establishment of Pramatrikona or Lokatrikona in the physical sphere is the foremost necessity. Restoring Prama in the physical sphere, bringing all major groupifications under one organizational structure, restoring the proper functioning of the administration and the various boards, progressive implementation of Charya and Prautistic principles according to the needs of the day, restoring the coordination of all AMPS activities under one united organizational structure throughout the world, restoring discipline and accountability, etc. Restoring Prama in the mental sphere. We have to face the reality. Social sentiments are naturally present in our Ananda Marga society, and they are having a negative impact in our missions movement. We need to deal with them straight on, both practically and ideologically. From there, we can actually start walking the path of Sama Samaja Tattva, real social equality, where everyone is treated as an equal in practice, no one gets left out, and we grow by making room for all, unity and diversity. And this is where it gets real, moving beyond theory and finally starting to live neo-humanism in practice. This is applied ideology. Human civilization is not one flower, but a beautiful garden with innumerable flowers of so many scents and so many varieties. You should remember that human life is not like a flower. It is like a collection of so many flowers, and that collection of so many flowers is the charm of human life. Human life is not like a flower. It is like a beautiful garden of so many flowers. Let all those flowers develop, and let the final movement of all those expressions of charm and fascination be goaded unto Paramapurusha. The flowers of different gardens will be gathered together and transformed into a bouquet. The beauty of the bouquet will be no less than the beauty of the individual flowers. Rather, it will be more beautiful. Dogmas in Ananda Marga. Some senior Indian workers might believe that because they were around when Baba was in his physical form, that they are more capable and the rightful stewards of the administration, thus rationalizing their political monopoly. Some Margis might believe that Indians in general are more devotional and that makes them the rightful stewards of AMPS. Some Margis might believe that Westerners are too intellectual, and if allowed in power might degrade the devotional aspect of AMPS, and thus lead it astray, spoil the organization. Some Margis might believe that India is a holier place, and that Indians are holier than others, and thus have the right to lead the organization. And there are more dogmas being directly propagated by both Indian groups, which will be discussed in a separate presentation. Facts. Sri Sri Anandamurti chose to take physical form in what we know as India, yet he is still Taraka Brahma, the Lord of all. He is not Indian. He came for the benefit of all and is beyond any superficial human limitations. He loves all equally. This whole universe is a mental projection within the mind of the Lord. No place is outside of him. No place is holier than another. All places are holy. Yes, different groups have different strengths and qualities, and when different groups work in collaboration, they become an asset to each other, making up for the shortcomings of the other. But when one group dominates, then its shortcomings become a problem for all, and there is no one to check them, and the potential of other groups is wasted, and the mission loses out. Baba teaches us that it is geo-sentiment, social sentiment, selfish thinking, and irrational thinking that are the biggest threats to our greatest treasure, the devotional sentiment. That is why he gave us his neo-humanism, to liberate our intellects from all these. Baba says, no one is totally independent. Everyone makes up for their deficiencies by taking help from others. Whenever a large group of people strive to make up for their relative differences on terms of mutual understanding, we call it a society. The significance of founding a true society lies in solving all problems in a collective way. Side note, social sentimental thinking is not unique to Indian workers and Margis. Similar patterns appear among Margis and workers of other ethnic, religious, cultural, and national backgrounds. But this reality carries a deeper lesson. We all have the opportunity to rise above them together. By embracing new humanistic ideals, we create a culture where everyone, regardless of background, benefits growing personally and contributing to our shared collective development. This is the path to a truly inclusive and universal Ananda Marga. Restoring Prama in the spiritual sphere. Revitalizing morality, discipline, accountability, and morale lays the essential foundation for spiritual growth, catalyzing deeper development both individual and collectively. Becoming aware and actively working towards overcoming narrow social sentiments through the neo-humanistic process and stance would lead to the liberation of the intellect, thus allowing for deeper spiritual realization and strengthening of the devotional sentiment, our greatest treasure. As we set an example and gain the experience of creating a micro-example of a neo-humanistic society, our efforts to help restore Dharma in society will meet with greater success. The roadmap, the four-step plan, unity and diversity. Step 1. To ensure advancement towards universalism, Ananda Vishwa Parivara. The formula system for cultural blending must be maintained in respect to both postings and important elections, and there must be progressive changes in the formula. With respect to elections for central global committees and boards, each of the main social groupifications, currently Bengali Indian, non-Bengali Indian, and non-Indian, must have a reserved percentage of seats, and each groupification will elect its own representatives. Step 1 explored cultural blending. Our ideology is universalism. So, for any administration to be legitimate in an ideological sense, it must be universally representative. In theory, a single benevolent leader could do that. Baba did that. In himself, he represented all. But in Baba's absence, and for the sake of appearances, we need bodies, posted office holders, committees, and boards that are widely representative and function in a fashion whereby no specific ethnicity or groupification can become so powerful as to skew decisions in its favor. And toward that end, we seek a blending of cultures, ultimately to achieve an ever-growing constituency, a global culture. For that purpose, Baba encouraged always a systematic approach. So, for example, Baba himself maintained a formulaic system of postings. Some postings were reserved for Bengalis, some for non-Bengalis, and some for non-Indians. And that formula was not written in stone. It could change. Step 1 explored continued. Groupification. For the sake of cultural blending, for the sake of universalism, one or more ethnicities might be lumped together with respect to some practical purpose. For example, elections of boards or postings. That is our concept of groupification. We do this keeping in mind the need to proceed with Prama by way of triangles of forces. So, for example, Baba himself used 3 groupifications in respect to postings: Bengali, non-Bengali, and non-Indian. And that we treat as our model Prama for elections and postings. The purpose of Step 1. The system aims to prevent cultural or regional domination and ensure balanced democratic participation that aligns with the ideal of universalism, unity and diversity. Side note, the concept of cultural blending is in the same spirit as Baba's idea of revolutionary marriage. Baba recognized the reality of racial, ethnic, cultural, and religious divisions in society. He partly sought to overcome these barriers through intergroup marriages. He believed that the children of such unions will be less likely to harbor prejudice, as they will naturally identify with the diverse backgrounds of both parents. By acknowledging these social realities and offering a practical solution, Baba exemplified the essence of applied neo-humanism. Side note continued. Some may say that recognizing social sentiments and reserving seats based on these groupifications is racist or divisive, but that thinking is not in line with our ideology. If that were true, then Baba himself would be accused of the same, for he recognized social sentiments as real forces in society, reserved posts for Bengali, non-Bengali, and non-Indian acharyas to ensure balance and harmony, encouraged practices like revolutionary marriage that consciously bridge social divisions through love and ideology. We are not institutionalizing racism, we are transforming it. We acknowledge diversity so that unity can be real, not forced. True unity is not sameness, it is conscious cooperation, love in diversity, and justice in representation. This is Baba's path. To rise above division through awareness, respect, and collective strength. Baba gave so much importance to revolutionary marriage that, for example, he said of people that want to become acharyas. Although this is not written down as part of any code of conduct, my considered opinion is that if a person fails to marry or fails to arrange the marriages of his or her brothers, sisters, sons, or daughters, according to the revolutionary marriage system, we will not allow the person to become an acharya. In this way, the door will be closed on their becoming and enjoying the rights of an acharya. In other words, those who have married according to the revolutionary marriage system and those who join Ananda Marga after their marriages should arrange the revolutionary marriages of their brothers and sisters. And if their brothers and sisters are already married, then at least they should arrange the revolutionary marriages of their sons and daughters. I think this is a really logical step. There is no place for hypocrites in our organization. In my opinion, refusing to acknowledge or address social sentiments is both hypocritical and dangerous. This is especially true in a global organization like ours, given the problems we currently face. Social sentiments are a challenge not only in the wider human society, but also within Ananda Marga, and they must be openly recognized and dealt with on an ideological basis. Recognizing race or caste is not the same as promoting racism. It is a rational and important step on the path to rise above social sentiments. Step 2. Anyone who has been recognized an acharya for a very long time, for example 25 years, may be considered to be an elder acharya. As a one-time process for constituting an adequate startup pool of parodas, all such elder acharyas must be recognized as paroda forthwith. If any of these qualified persons do not have all of their lessons in Vishesh Yoga, they may be categorized as acting paroda until such a time as they have received all of the Vishesh lessons. However, these acting parodas will have the same voting rights as any other paroda. The purpose of Step 2. This is a practical way to quickly form a strong group of experienced leaders, while still including those who are finishing their training. It values experience and avoids delays caused by unnecessary formal or complicated steps. Side note: Margis naturally want leaders who embody morality, but in a fragmented organization where group loyalties often outweigh the collective, there's no practical or trustworthy way to decide who is moral. If we don't neutralize and subsequently overcome group interests, how can we be sure these new so-called moral leaders won't continue with the same groupist politics? Baba taught that real change comes from a step-by-step approach to gradually change the psychology of the people. This will subsequently lead us to break free from social sentiments and selfish thinking. These problems aren't random. They have been built over time. Fixing them won't come from quick solutions, but again, through a patient step-by-step transformation of the whole system. Step 3. The expanded body of parodas must conduct new elections for the Central Committee, Paroda Board, and Paroda Pramukh. The new Central Committee will have a minimum number of members, consisting of representatives of the three main groupifications, that is, BI, NBI, and NI. The proportions of representation should be determined by such factors as number of acharyas, number of ethnicities, number of nations, number of language groups, and so on. So, for example, if the Central Committee has 18 members, the proportion of representation might be in a ratio of 1 BI, 2 NBI, 3 NI. In other words, there might be 3 BI, 6 NBI, and 9 NI representatives. Naturally, the elected representatives of any groupification may be from any ethnicity, not necessarily an ethnicity of the electing groupification. In other words, the NBI parodas are at liberty to elect BIs or NIs as NBI representatives. The paroda board will consist of 1 BI representative, 1 NBI representative, and 1 NI representative. in addition to the Proto-Pramukh. Step 3 continued. The Proto-Pramukh must be elected according to a system that ensures acceptance by all of the three main groupifications. In other words, the elected Proto-Pramukh must receive a majority of yes votes from the Parotas representing each of the three groupifications. The primary duties of the Central Committee are public service and the propagation of Dharma. To facilitate this end, the Central Committee must go on making regular, progressive changes in the formula for cultural blending. The primary duties of the Parota Board are creation of the maximum number of Parotas, maintenance and elevation of the standard of Parotas, and resolution of any complicated problems or serious controversies that arise in the Marga. The Parota Pramukh is the chairperson of the Parota Board and the ex-official president of the Central Committee. Step 3 Summary. This is a blueprint for balanced, inclusive leadership in a diverse global spiritual movement. It prioritizes fair representation, ongoing reform, spiritual integrity, and unity through shared leadership rather than central domination. Step 4. The Tattvikas, Acharyas, and Avadutas must conduct new elections for their respective boards. Those elections will be conducted in a rational fashion, with appropriate reservation of seats for the elected representatives of each of the three main groupifications. The purpose of Step 4. This step ensures that leadership within each board is inclusive, representative, and balanced, preventing any single group from dominating the boards. It supports the broader movement towards universalism and equity across cultural lines within the organization. We also need boards that can uphold proper discipline among the workers, and that include a wider range of skills, experience, and perspectives. Boards that can truly guide and support an internationally diverse cadre. What this plan can do for Ananda Marga. This visionary plan lays the foundation for a more inclusive, balanced, and spiritually united organization by ensuring fair representation for Bengali Indian, non-Bengali Indian, and non-Indian members at every level of leadership. It prevents cultural domination and promotes true universalism in action. And with this new, more dynamic leadership, Charya can be properly implemented for the benefit of all. This will help to restore ideological zeal, discipline, and accountability. It represents a true application of our social ideology, neo-humanism and Prout. Key benefits of the four-step plan include fair representation. Reserved seats guarantee that all voices, regardless of background, are heard and valued in decision-making. Unity through diversity, by empowering each group to choose its own leaders, who will work together on the various boards. Experienced leadership. Elder acharyas and long-serving workers are included and valued, ensuring that wisdom guides our next steps. Peaceful conflict resolution. With a structure for handling serious issues fairly, the organization gains stability and transparency. Ongoing growth. The call for progressive reform ensures the system evolves with the times, staying relevant and just. Now, some might say that nowhere in Charya does it speak about seat reservations, social groupifications, or making adjustments to the process of making parotas. Charya is subject to revision and ought to be revised at this time from an ideological perspective for several reasons. Pragmatic governance means flexibility. The organization acknowledges that evolving circumstances may require changes to its rules to stay relevant, efficient, and just. This is especially true in a growing global movement facing diverse local challenges. Built-in provision for amendments. The document explicitly states, for the facility of work, the Central Committee can make necessary alterations, additions, and amendments to the rules drawn up above. This clause provides legal and procedural legitimacy to amendments. So the endeavor to advance towards the ultimate reality by forming a society free from all inequalities, with every one of the human race moving in unison, is called Sama Samaja Tattva. That is why I say categorically that we must totally reject all those hypocritical ideas which are contrary to the Sama Samaja Tattva, and we must welcome all those ideas which will help human beings to be established in it. All opposing theories must be removed mercilessly, just like thorns from our path. And finally, in this process of restoring Prama, no one is to be left behind. All should be given the option to rejoin the renewed organization, regardless of how serious their past actions have been, provided they commit from this point onward to follow conduct rules and organizational discipline. If there are situations that require accountability or punishment, those will be addressed fairly and constructively by the newly elected Parota, Acharya, and Tattvika boards, once a reformed, functional, and respected administration is in its place. Baba does not permit social capital punishment. No capital punishment. Capital punishment brings about deterioration in society and stops further progress of the individuals on whom capital punishment is inflicted. Such individuals form sects or groups which become the lower or discarded groups of society and give rise to discord and disruption in society. In Ananda Marga, capital punishment, whether social or physical, is not permitted under any circumstances. The only punishment permissible in the Marga is disallowing a defaulter to take part in social functions for a fixed period. After the period is over, the individuals start taking part in all the functions as usual. The other punishment specified is to bring to the Marga, that is, to show the right path, to 10 persons before the individual is allowed to attend social functions. Punishments of this type are corrective, and instead of retarding individual progress, give more chance to the individual to correct his or her conduct and to adopt correct pursuits during the period of punishment. Side note, we all know that some individuals in AM have committed serious wrongs and have escaped real accountability. Margis are right to feel outraged by this. But let's be clear, as long as AMPS leadership is broken, these abuses will not stop, they will repeat. We can't allow ourselves to get stuck only reacting to individual cases, while the system that enables them remains untouched. The real fight is to build a leadership structure that is transparent, just, and accountable. Without systematic change, injustice will keep multiplying. The four-step plan is a significant step to help us move forward. And as we move on this revolutionary new path, challenges will appear, disagreements, controversies, etc. And we will come up with solutions, with new processes to manage them. Managing a global organization with so many different groups and with so many different perspectives is not easy. Ananda Marga has lost its Prama, and it is in the final stage of degeneration. Prama will have to be gradually restored. There is no easy quick fix. What do we stand to gain? When a butterfly is emerging from its cocoon, the struggle to push through the small opening is essential. That effort forces fluid from its body into its wings, strengthening them and giving the butterfly the ability to fly. If the cocoon were open for it, the butterfly will come out weak, with underdeveloped wings, and likely never be able to fly. Just as a butterfly must struggle against a cocoon to gain the strength to fly, societies must also struggle through challenges when striving for change. The resistance, the obstacles, debates, and conflicts forces people and institutions to stretch, adapt, and grow stronger. If we try to bypass that process by expecting instant transformation without effort, or by avoiding discomfort, the wings of social change remain weak. The new order may collapse, or people may not have the resilience to sustain it. In other words, the challenges to social change are not just barriers, they are part of the very process that prepares society to rise to a higher stage of development. The struggle strengthens collective willpower, sharpens ideological understanding, and makes the achievement durable. These painful and destructive social sentiments and dogmas are exactly what Baba came to educate us on and to train us on, to overcome, because this is what is plaguing the larger society, what's leading the larger society to self destruction. Look at all the conflicts around us, within every country and around the world. Baba is forcing us to face this problem internally. But he has also presented us with a roadmap to help us overcome it. And this education and training is what we need to mature as Ananda Margis, to become exemplary human beings, to give rise to Sadvipras, to lead the larger society out of darkness and into light. What makes it so challenging is that not only is our Ananda Marga society in the stage of degeneration, but none of us has seen a true ideological society as defined by Baba. We are the pioneers. We are the first ones to move ahead and face these obstacles so that it is easier for the larger society to move ahead through our example. We will have to say without hesitation that humanity has not yet learned how to build a society worthy of the name. Even to this day, people have only a very vague notion of the reasons for needing society, let alone of how to build a true society. Synopsis towards a unified AMPS, restoring Prama. Present crisis. Ananda Marga today is stagnating, fragmented, and degenerating. Leadership has been compromised by corruption, misuse of power, favoritism, and ethnic social sentiments, especially rivalries among Indian groups. This fuels mistrust, weakens devotion, and erodes collective spirit. Root causes: social sentiments, groupism, ethnic culture and political loyalties, prioritizing one group's interests over universal welfare. Atma Sukha Tattva, leaders clinging to posts for power and/or personal comfort, security, betraying ideology. Institutional discrimination, concentration of power in Indian groups, excludes others. Result: loss of Prama, dynamic balance in physical, mental, and spiritual spheres. Baba's teachings: institutions must serve humanity first, not themselves. Justice and equality, Sama Samaja Tattva, are essential for progress in the physical, mental, and spiritual spheres. Dogma and group domination must be rejected. Neo-humanism is the guiding path forward. Unity is paramount. Our treasures are ideology, devotion, and unity. Stages of decline. Derangement. Society continues to function outwardly, but with distorted practices, growing imbalance, and ignored calls for reform. Disruption. Hidden cracks erupt into open conflict, instability, and chaos, breaking down collective order and discipline. Degeneration. Vitality, trust, and unity steadily erode, leaving hollow institutions that survive in form but lose their spirit. The consequences: if unresolved, morale, discipline, and trust will keep collapsing. Fragmentation will spread. Non-Indian Margis will remain underutilized. Ideology will become diluted, reducing AMPS to just another Indian religion. The path to restoration: re-establishing Prama. Physical sphere: unify all groupifications under one structure. Restore administration, discipline, and accountability. Mental sphere: acknowledge and overcome social sentiments, dismantle dogmas, and apply Sama Samaja Tattva in practice. Spiritual sphere: revive morality, devotion, and ideological zeal to rebuild collective spirit. The four-step plan for unity: cultural blending formula. Reserve leadership seats for Bengali Indian, non-Bengali Indian, and non-Indian, ensuring balance. Recognize elder acharyas. Grant immediate status as parodas to qualified senior acharyas. Inclusive elections. New central committee and paroda board formed with proportional representation, and a paroda pramukh elected with approval from all groups. Reform boards. Dadvikas, acharyas, and avadutas elect balanced boards with reserved seats. Why this plan matters: ensures fairness and experienced leadership, establishing accountability and ongoing reform, prevents domination by any single group, building trust through balance and shared power, sets AMPS on a path of unity through diversity, guided by neo-humanism and Prout. Final principle: no one should be excluded. Everyone has a place in the organization. Those who strayed can rejoin, provided they commit to discipline and accountability. Society means moving together, rekindling each other's light, and ensuring no one is left behind. The call to action: restoring Prama is essential. It is the foundation for serving and uplifting humanity. AMPS must first heal its own divisions. Without unity inside, it cannot provide guidance to the world. Ideological clarity and unity in diversity: these are the tools to fulfill Baba's mission.